Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Kickstart Your Consulting Career. If you could please give me a thumbs up or say hello in the chat, let us know you can all see us and hear us okay, that'd be great. Brilliant, thank you. So the panel today will consist of Alan from Group GTI, who will be hosting today's webinar and asking the panelists questions. As for the panelists, we have Natasha from IBM, Lisa from Capgemini, Leanne from Grace, and Melanie from ThirdBridge. If you do have any questions, please stick them in the questions tab in the bottom right and not the chat tab, as they may get lost throughout the webinar in all the messages. So yeah, thank you again for tuning in. I'll now hand over to Alan. So enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Connor. Yeah, and thank you in the audience for attending this webinar. My name is Alan, as Connor states, and I'm an editor here at targetjobs. I'm going to be your host for this webinar, and I'm joined by a really interesting panel of both recruiters and practitioners from the consulting industry who are going to share their insights with us today. So before I hand over to them to introduce themselves, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of how this webinar is going to go. So we've got an hour for today's session. We'll have about 40 minutes of conversation based around some interesting talking points that we've got lined up. And then for the final 20 minutes or so, I'll open it up for a Q&A session from you in the audience. Feel free to pop your questions in the question panel at any time. You don't have to wait until we get to the Q&A session. And the way that it works is on an upvote system. So you'll see a little thumbs up icon next to the question, and you can click that, and that will send it towards the higher up in the questions panel. And then when it comes time, the more for the Q&A, the more upvotes a question has, the sooner it will get answered. So if you see a question that you would like to be answered, make sure to give it that thumbs up. And before you pop your question in, please just have a look to make sure that there aren't any duplicate ones, and that way we can get to as many as possible. So thank you for listening to that, and I will now hand over to our panelists to introduce themselves. I think the easiest way to do this is to go clockwise around my screen. I know it's different for everybody, but I'll stick to that. So Lisa, I'm going to hand over to you first. If you could, tell us your role, who you work for, and a little bit about who you are, please.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Lisa. I work at Capgemini. I've been here for about 4 years now, with a variety of different roles, all in recruitment. I'm now a recruitment manager that looks after the majority of our consulting roles, both graduates and interns. And oh, sorry, was there anything else you wanted to know? I've gone blank there.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. So I'll move over to Leanne, please.
Thank you. My name's Leanne. I'm a talent officer at Grace. I work within emerging talent and recruiting graduates into change and transformation, data and tech analyst roles. Really love my job, really love recruitment and seeing how emerging talent can grow and develop people's careers, and overviewing that and being a part of it is just very enjoyable to me.
Yeah, I can imagine you're obviously right at the start of that career for a lot of of your applicants. And thank you, Natasha. I'll go to you next.
Hi. Yeah, sorry if I dropped out then. I think I lost a bit of Wi-Fi. But yeah, hi. I'm Natasha. I work for IBM. I'm a current technology consultant graduate, but a previous role I did at IBM was within talent acquisition and recruitment for grads and interns.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so you've got both sides of the...
Yeah, a bit of both there.
Nice, brilliant. And Melanie, last but not least.
Yes, my name is Melanie. I don't currently work in recruitment, but I work very closely with the recruitment team. I work at a company called ThirdBridge, which is a financial services firm. I've been there for almost 8 years, first in our New York office, then I moved over to our London office in the beginning of 2020. I currently oversee our European consulting department. So working very closely with our teams of associates and senior associates who work every day with our management consulting clients. So that's why we call them consulting vertical.
Right, okay. So is there a slight difference then between the services that ThirdBridge is offering and your typical consulting firm?
Exactly. So our role, we call it a consulting specific role because of the end clients, but the role in and of itself is not necessarily the same type of consulting roles that you would see at a IBM or a Capgemini, et cetera. But our end clients are the top 3 management consulting firms out there.
Brilliant, thank you. And you said, so you work closely with the recruiting, but you're not a recruiter yourself.
No, my official title is Vice President of Operations. So working directly and managing and operations of our teams.
Brilliant. Excuse me, I've unplugged myself there, so bear with me for a second.
Of course. I can see the questions in the chat box. I guess we'll get to them after that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll come through a Q&A session in the final section of the webinar. So yeah, make sure to put your questions in the questions panel, guys, and we will come to those. Brilliant. So thanks for introducing yourself, everybody. I'll kick things off with the talking points now then. And I think I'll start with sort of what the consultants do in your field. So I'm going to go back around the other way around my screen to get everyone talking. So Melanie, yeah, if you could start us with well, obviously they're not consultants in ThirdBridge, but what your employees do, please.
Definitely. So the associates, we hire associates from all different sorts of backgrounds, not necessarily just consulting, although of course within the consulting vertical, we do have a preference for people with consulting interest or experience. So what they do is essentially they connect our clients, who, as I said, are consulting firms, with industry experts who might have some sort of information or knowledge in a certain market that they are interested in learning more about. So essentially it is what we call gathering human insights. So it's kind of this knowledge broker role where you are sourcing, finding, vetting experts who would be good fits to speak with your clients, who are ultimately consultants. So that's the first phase of the associate role. The second phase of the associate role is more client, on the client engagement phase, which means that they then own a book of business, liaising directly with management consultants, who tell them exactly what they're looking for, so that they then are responsible for account management of those clients, as well as the specialist sourcing, screening, vetting, etc.
Sounds really interesting. And are your associates involved in both aspects of this role from the get-go, or do they sort of build into the different areas?
They can definitely build into the different areas. A lot of the associates who join us come straight from university, and their knowledge levels are not necessarily that high to begin with, right? So there is a lot of scope to learn, and we put a lot of emphasis as well into learning opportunities, either internally at ThirdBridge as well as externally. So providing them with courses where they can learn more about whatever skills they may be interested in.
Fantastic, thank you. And Natasha, so I'll move to you. Perhaps you can give us some insight into your role and what you do.
Yes, sure. So my role, what I do, so I'm a technology consultant. I'm currently working as a junior architect. So I basically work on like migration designs for the cloud at the moment, and basically sit looking at technology and computers all day, but it's really exciting. I love it. But yeah, we hire for all aspects really, you know, from technology side, business side to developers. So there really is kind of, we're looking more for not necessarily you having to have the background in the avenue that we're hiring for, but more just the passion or the willingness to learn. That's kind of our avenue, because I did a business degree, but I'm in a technical role. So
yeah, it's more important that you have the motivation and the desire to want to exceed in that path, regardless of what background you're coming from. And so you also said that you had a bit of a recruiting background with IBM as well. Were you recruiting just into tech consulting roles, or was there a wider scope there?
It was wider. So I recruited for apprentices, labs, so our developers, and then into grads and placement year students. So I did a bit of all sorts really. So happy to answer any questions on that as well.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to go over to Leanne now, please.
So I work for Grace, who recruit throughout the year for graduate talent across business change and transformation. And so those roles could include business analyst or project manager, working with some huge name organizations on their large scale projects. So it could be cost effective. How can they reduce costs? How can they make the organization more efficient? could be short-term projects, could be longer term, and then they rotate and take their skills and experience into another project. Then we have tech, where we have a software development program. There's a 3-week boot camp to begin with. And in our data program, you could be going into a data engineer role or a data scientist role, but again, in a consultancy nature. And so you could be working on a project as a data scientist. It could come to an end, and then you could go in with those skills and experience into more of a data engineer role. So it's really getting a taste of the various different aspects that are out there. And such is the nature of consultancy, that you can really start to build up your skills and your experience.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And Lisa, I'm going to head over to you now.
So our roles, all our candidates come onto graduate programs or the placements go into a program as well. And they vary completely. So they're all consultancy, but it could be roles that are based in public sector or energy and utilities, financial services, the list goes on. But we're looking for the passions of the candidates, again, more than what they've done in the past. A little bit like Natasha said, it could be candidates that are coming straight out of university. So as long as they've got the passion and the willingness to learn, we can teach them to be consultants. So that's really what we're looking for.
And sort of then, how can, if we're thinking about the recruitment process, then how can candidates sort of demonstrate their passion to you, the recruiters, I should say?
Is this directed to me again?
Yes, please, Lisa.
Yeah, absolutely. So in their application form, we're going to ask them about past experiences and whether they've anything that relates to the program that they've done before. So this could be that they've joined a webinar like this, and they've come in and they've learned more about Capgemini and other companies and consultancy, or that they've done some background research in their own time, whether it's podcasts or free courses or anything else that shows that they've got that desire to learn and to find out more about the areas of their interest.
So it's more about the wider experiences. And obviously you want to come in with some related work experience if you can, but would you also say then it's just as important to have that wider experiences sort of from your extracurricular activities or your part-time job, let's say?
Absolutely. Work experience is a fantastic bonus, but it's not necessary. We like it, it's great, but not everyone can have that. But then there's experiences that people gain from all sorts of aspects outside of work, whether it's sports or it's volunteering. We do look into sort of every aspect of what the candidate's been doing in their free time.
Brilliant, thank you. And Leanne, could you give us a little bit of insight into your recruitment process, please?
We have a 3-stage recruitment process. What the first stage is competency. What I'm really looking for from applicants is that, like Lisa said, that passion for building your career. Your personality is really essential in an entry-level role. How you can communicate and articulate your skills, but also I'm looking for an interest in the business world. So I'm not looking for years of experience if you're looking to reskill into a new role or taking your very first step into the career world. What I'm looking for is that interest and drive. So I would say to applicants, talk about what you've read, what you've heard. I remember doing an interview with somebody who was just reeling off podcasts that she'd listened to, articles that she'd read. And where you lack in experience, you can really make up for in that drive and willingness to learn and to really show that interest in what's going on around you. Read up on what's in the news, be commercially aware. And that's what I really look for alongside competency skill.
Yeah, right, of course, because if you're sort of putting your spare time into it, I guess that's what shows and proves the passion, right? If somebody's choosing outside of their studies, outside of their work, to still go and put time into reading about these things instead of something else, then I guess that is really good evidence of just how interested in the role somebody is.
Yeah, absolutely. And interest is something that's really important. And I would say as well, for people who are looking to come into a data program, if they've taken part in a boot camp beforehand, or they've done some online learning, they're really showing that they're interested in that subject.
Yeah, and could you perhaps give us an example of, is there a candidate that maybe comes to mind, somebody who'd done something that really made you think, wow, that's really interesting?
Yeah, some people have sponsored themselves through 3-month boot camps. There's a candidate that comes to my mind who had an academic credential that was fantastic, but she'd really taken proactive steps to upskill. She knew how competitive the data analytical world is, and so she'd self-invested. She was proactive, and she'd done everything that she can, and that came across on her CV. It came across about, and she was speaking about data analysis. You could see that drive was really there within her, and that made her a great candidate. And it was actually her first paid job. So it wasn't so much that I was looking at what experience she'd had. It was her drive and her ambition that came across really loud and clear.
Yeah, and that must make you think, well, if this is how they're carrying themselves now, then they're going to be fantastic with our clients.
Exactly. Yeah,
brilliant. And so Natasha, obviously you must have been through the recruitment process yourself as a graduate recently. So yeah, we can get your insight on this now from a graduate's perspective.
Yes, so the recruitment process for me, as most companies say, you write your CV and you submit your CV, and it goes through like an online checking system. You submit it, and then a recruiter will view it. After there, I had an initial interview as to why I wanted to go into consultancy, and there really was kind of, for me, I've not come from a consulting background. It was a chance, to kind of showcase why you're wanting to go in this career and pull in, as the others have said, all the things that I've done externally, and obviously want to go into moving forwards. Being successful on that, I then went into a more kind of narrowed down interview, which was why I wanted to do technology consultancy and where do I fit kind of within the technology world. Like, I was interested in cloud, so I obviously expressed wanting to go into cloud, and they kind of tailored my process to meet with what I was asking to go into, which was really great. I only had 2 interviews because I did my placement year at IBM, but from an external perspective, after your initial interview, you have you're at an assessment center where you do a group activity, again showcasing all of your skills and talking about yourself, and then being successful from there, you get the grad role, really. So it was kind of tailored for me, as I had already expressed the area I wanted to go into. But if you don't know as well, there is a generalized consultancy where you can figure things out as well, so there is different avenues there.
Yeah, so coming from that placement year, then I assume that you already had some nice relationships built up there internally. But in from somebody who's not coming from the benefit of having that placement year, what would you say is the most important thing for them, to display or demonstrate as they're going through this process?
I think passion for the career, whether that be consultancy or being a developer or whatever it is that you're wanting to apply for, having passion and an interest into that avenue, and whether that is bringing in a podcast you've listened to all the way through to an online course that you've done off your own back, just showing some initiative and being proactive in going down to that avenue, really, is what I would say.
So quite similar then to what Leanne was touching upon with her example there. And so in your experience then, what did you find most challenging about the recruitment process, and what tips would you have for our audience on dealing with that?
I think most challenging is, for what I would say, when I did the assessment centre originally, I did it virtually because we were obviously in COVID, and I know a lot of recruitment processes are still virtual. I definitely just say my biggest advice and tip there would be, don't think that you have to constantly talk. Yes, obviously speak up and raise your points, but remember that if you're in an assessment centre, you're in a team, so they're looking for not just you as an individual, but how you also work with people around you. And I think a lot of people forget that when they're going through a recruitment process. So that'd be my biggest and most challenging aspect, was remembering it's not just me, that you're working with a team here. Yeah,
obviously, you've got to contribute, but at the same time, you don't want to be sort of dominating, but also you don't want to be too passive, right? You want to show that you have something to offer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, brilliant. So, well, yeah, you mentioned sort of wider skills there, which we'll touch upon in a moment. But yeah, Melanie, if you could just give us insight into the third-bridge recruitment process and sort of what graduates can expect.
Definitely. And I think I lost connection there for 1 second as well, but hopefully all good now. Classic. This wouldn't be a webinar without some drops in Wi-Fi. But anyway, the recruitment process at ThirdBridge is also a 3-part recruitment process. So it starts with a few competency-based questions with one of the members of our talent acquisition team. And those questions we're looking for examples of either experience in university or work experience or in your personal life and hobbies that demonstrate a lot of what Leanne, Natasha, Lisa have already spoken about, which is that passion for what you do, that commercial acumen, commercial understanding, and understanding of the business world that's so important. Fearlessness is a big one for us as well. People who are willing to just jump right into something without even understanding, what risks that may mean. Because you are speaking with a lot of industry experts all the time. There is an element of cold calling as well, so you need to be able to want to do that. The second interview also has competency-based questions, but we add a case study at the end where we test for that commercial acumen that we were talking about, as well as a written exercise. Communication skills are quite important. And then finally, there is a final round, which is just 15-20 minutes with one of the vice presidents on the team, where we understand a little bit more. We dig into more of the motivation for joining ThirdBridge, for wanting to be in any one of our verticals. It could be consulting, private equity, or hedge funds as well.
Fantastic. And you were saying before how you work closely with the recruitment side of things.
Yeah.
Are you actually involved in the assessing in any way then?
Yeah, so I run, except for the first interview where the talent team is more closely associated to those interviews, I run our case study one, which is the one in the middle, and then as well as the final round, I do those as well. So I've spoken with a lot of candidates over the last 8 years that I've been there.
And sort of we've talked then a lot about, demonstrating passion and commercial awareness.
Yeah.
When you're looking at a candidate, what really makes one stand out for you?
I would say this is something that is hard to measure, but when you see it, it's very clear. It's the drive to win, and that competitiveness is really important for us because we are one of many firms in the industry, and our clients are working on very tight timelines, tight deadlines. So we need to be able to understand what our clients are doing and mirror that, so we can provide them with the best client service possible. That drive to win, that resilience, that competitiveness comes across, I would say, mostly in the competency-based questions with those examples of things that they've done in their professional, personal, student lives. That really comes across very well. So.
Fantastic, thank you. So we've obviously talked a little bit there then about the different skills and qualities that we're looking for in candidates. Lisa, I think I'll go back to you on this one. So outside of sort of commercial awareness and passion, what else are you looking for in a candidate, and how are you assessing for these skills?
So slightly differently from some of the other companies, we're not looking at competency-based skills. We're looking at candidates' potential, and we're looking at what they could do on our grad scheme, what they'd be capable of. So when we're assessing, we're looking at their team working skills as one of the big things in the assessment centres, and how they interact with the other candidates is really important. Also that they take the Capgemini values on board, so some honesty and being modest. So again, just slightly different from everybody else there. But that teamwork is the big drive for us, I would say.
And you were talking then about the assessment centre then. Are you able to shed some light on the sort of exercise that candidates might experience to sort of test their teamwork skills?
Yeah, so we give them a group exercise where they have a made-up scenario, and they need to pitch a scenario to each other as a group, and then select one of these. They pitch one pitch each to the rest of their group, and then they select one to take forward. And so it's how they work together, how they interact, and they come to the conclusion of what they're pitching. And they have to also present on that. So it's how they come together to put this presentation together, and how they work in the time challenged environment as well. So that teamwork and that time management is very important.
Yeah, and obviously in the confidence as well, when it comes to the presentation, you can't, I'm sure you don't expect the graduate to come in feeling extremely confident, in their abilities and background, but I'm sure you want to see at least a little bit of sort of emotion and confidence to come through when they're presenting.
Yeah, definitely. And that engagement as well, that's very important. Our assessment centres are virtual, so I think that can be a learning curve for candidates sometimes, even though we've been in this virtual environment for quite a long time now. It can still be a little bit tricky to maintain that eye contact and the body language and everything else. That is all very, very important as well, having that engagement.
Brilliant, thank you. And Leanne, what can you share on this?
So because we've got 3 different programs, it'd be too long for me to go into like specific details, but across the 3 programs, just again, we're looking for that interest in the area that they're wanting to move into. So there is no point in applying for a role in change and transformation if you're just clicking apply, but you're not really interested in it. And we get that sometimes. So I'm looking for, are you really interested in being a business analyst or a project manager? And if you are, can you tell me what you know about those roles? So, I'm looking for somebody to have researched what the program is. And as Lisa said, our values. So each organization has their own values, especially in a modern environment where values are so important to graduates. We have the values that make up our organisation. So what makes our organisation different to the others? And so I would say research up, looking for them to research up on who we are and what the roles that they've applied for are. I think it's very easy for grads to click apply, but not really focus on what they're, and that comes across straight away. So that's one of the important things, is just really know what you've applied for.
And are you looking to see then sort of those values in practice as well in the experience that candidates are bringing?
Yes, so with Grace, everybody from the candidates with applying for the graduate schemes to head office staff have to demonstrate a value alignment in the second stage interview. That's across our programs and across all HQ roles. And so it means that you're working with some like-minded people. We have charity initiatives that our grads are involved in. There's a lot that we do to work in terms of sustainability and inclusivity. And so you have to align with those values, and it makes it a really lovely organisation to be a part of, because it means that you are all like-minded in that respect. So I am looking for value-driven individuals as well.
Brilliant, thank you. And so talking about values then, Natasha, was that something that you were conscious about as you were going through the recruitment process?
Yes, definitely. So like IBM has 3 core values, like being curious, and it's definitely something that I looked at before applying as well, like seeing whether the culture of the company resonated with me. And then yes, again, it was brought up in interviews as well. So definitely make sure you look into that and the company culture. Yeah,
and I mean, I think not only from an employer's perspective, but also from the applicant's perspective, this is where you're going to be potentially spending a long time. You want to make sure that, you feel that you're going to be at home in this company, that you're going to be able to, essentially forge connections there. And so Melanie, what about the values at the Third Bridge then? How are candidates sort of demonstrating those in the process?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point as well that Natasha brought up about culture and being part of Third Bridge in New York as well as London. I could definitely see that culture is something that's so important, because no matter where you're from, no matter what you studied, no matter what background or interests you come with, the characteristics that we look for in both offices are essentially the same, and that speaks to the culture of the company. And all of these big global organizations really have that, which I think is really special when you have offices across the world, really. So that was definitely something that I would recommend asking about, speaking about when you are looking into different organizations, different jobs that you may be interested in, and how maybe the offices compare to each other, or even departments within the same office. You'd be surprised, but that culture does really remain, which is really special.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting how you've got both aspects of those. And do you find that the candidates sort of approach the recruitment process in the same way for the New York and the London applicants?
I would say the main difference is actually, and this is more because of the clients that we work with, but in the London office, we work with European clients, so clients in France, Germany, Italy, Spain, etc. So that language component is quite important. We are looking for language speakers who can communicate with clients and specialists in other European countries. In the US, our clients are 99% US or Canada based. So you hear less of the languages in the office, and that is something that we look for less. But I would say otherwise, all the competencies, all the characteristics, those same things that we touched upon earlier hold true.
Fantastic, thank you. So yeah, we've touched obviously on skills a lot there then. Considering experiences, obviously Leanne was sharing with us about that interesting candidate who was funding themselves through different courses and things. But outside of sort of online courses and your degree, what other experiences put a candidate in good stead? If anyone from the panel would like to take that one.
I don't mind saying that. Every skill is transferable, and nobody is ever above development. I certainly am not. You could get to CEO level and not be above development, and so never assume that you've reached. The person ahead of you with years of experience has got something over you in that respect. So anything that you've learned is transferable. So if you've been through university and got a degree, you've demonstrated an attention to detail, research skills, organizational skills, and teamwork, group skill. So you're communicating updates to lecturers and your peers. So all of those skills can translate into the workplace. So you really be able, I recommend use STAR technique. Please Google that, STAR. If you get that used to using that technique, then you can really demonstrate your skills from university or any work experience that you've done. If you've worked in Costa Coffee or if you've worked in Tesco's, you're still customer facing. Don't underestimate any work experience that you've done. But also, if you've done a degree, if you've had that education, very transferable. So promote it.
I would say another example just to add to that, because I completely agree that every skill is transferable, but specific examples of non-academic or non-professional experiences that really develop your skills are also in sports teams, especially in areas, for example, at Third Bridge, everything that we do is very collaborative. We work in teams. We have a lot of stakeholder management, be it external with our clients and our specialists or internal within the teams. So experience in sports teams and also competitive sports teams, that also helps quite a lot. So it doesn't just have to be professional or academic, right? There are other areas where you can gain that experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about the underlying skills, right, that you are picking up from these experiences, regardless of where you're getting them from. Lisa, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I touched on it earlier, but any sort of charity work always goes in their favour as well. And like Capgemini is quite big on sustainability, which most companies are. So if there's anything that they've been doing to work towards that, whether it's charity work or any other work, then that always helps as well.
Fantastic, thank you. So yeah, we've talked about a few different things here. I think one of the other points that I wanted to touch on was internships. And yeah, so I just wanted to open this up to the panel. What can a candidate expect from an internship at your organization, and how do the skills that they've learned there how do they carry forward into the graduate roles? And yeah, feel free to volunteer if you'd like to take this one. Or should I take Natasha then? Do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, I was going to say, should I just come in here? So, yeah, honestly, I learned so much on my placement year. Although it was virtual, skills-wise, just everything from communicating more in a professional sense and speaking to clients, all the way through to working with international teams and dealing with time zone differences and everything, and transferable into like my graduate role is actually been more of the soft skill side of things rather than I potentially say the academic, technical or business savvy side. So that's been kind of what I've carried through from my internship forwards is, you know, again, how do I work with an international client and making sure that it works with their time zone and as well as for myself, or with a team that's got part-time workers all the way through to apprentices, you know. Oh, can you hear me? Sorry,
yeah,
I just saw
we've
a
still
message.
got you. Yeah.
That's fine, just checking. So definitely, yeah, the soft skill side is what I've carried through.
And sort of when you came into your placement year, what was this side of it intimidated in any way? You know, did you have to build your confidence to sort of be able to have these conversations with your colleagues and clients?
Oh yes, I had big imposter syndrome. It was before my placement year. I'd only really done like part-time work. Like I worked as a bartender and, you know, and a waitress and a pot wash, you know, through my teen years. So this was kind of like my first corporate business world. So yeah, it did take me time to build confidence. I mean, I had a mentor and a buddy, and my manager was really helpful to like help me build that confidence. But I also did a lot of online courses to help kind of with presenting and communicating that way, because again, it was something I hadn't really done in my past. So I was really fortunate to get on courses like that. And then, yeah, eventually, well, here I am now on a panel talking. So the courses and stuff has definitely helped.
Yeah, you've gone full circle now. Yeah, Melanie, do you have anything to add to what Natasha was saying?
So, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Am I muted again? There we go. We actually are not offering internships at this time. So we are only recruiting for full-time associate roles, but starting at that we don't have like a September class or a January class. We hire for every single month of the year. So constantly hiring for full-time jobs.
Fantastic. And Leanne, I know you were saying it was a sort of similar rolling basis with Grace.
Yeah, it's a rolling basis. I think what Grace can offer is that our clients have space for a graduate in their team, but they might not necessarily have the resource to put in time for that training and soft skill mentorship. And so that's where we step in with our development program. It's that training and upskilling. So, for example, one of our analysts had never used Jira before, so we were able to train him in using that system. And so it supports the gap between the skills needed for the client, but also the soft skills and the learning and the development for the graduate going into that role. So we're kind of the middle ground. So it's an internship in the sense of we offer that mentoring support and training, but like Melanie, our roles are continuously throughout the year we're recruiting.
Fantastic, thank you. And Lisa, yeah, can you give us some insight into the internships at Capgemini and sort of how that prepares your interns going forward?
Yeah, so we've got a limited number of consulting internships available. They're not actually open for applications at the moment, but they will be opening again next year for 2024. And this just really gives a good structured 11-month program and good experience for the business and good business experience and an insight into what it's like working at Capgemini and making the connections and knowing that this is really something that the candidates want to do as well. Because we've all got an idea of what we enjoy, but until we've actually gone and experienced it, we can't say for sure. So it's a good insight for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's that real world experience, right? You can read about it all you want beforehand, but until you've actually put yourself in the mix and amongst the people here, you won't truly know. But thank you very much for sharing your insights, and talking over these points for our audience. If you'd like to pop a link or anything to the recruitment websites of your companies in the chat, feel free to do so, and our audience can have a look at those before they leave. I'm going to open up the webinar to a Q for a session now. We've got a healthy number of questions in the chat. So yeah, going in order of the most upvotes, I've got the first question. What are the mistakes to avoid when applying, interviewing for entry roles? Top mistakes that are most frequent or most harmful in the application process, please, and thank you. Yeah, is there anyone in the panel who would like to take that one?
I think it's been touched on slightly already, but it's multiple applications to lots of roles that are just a sort of lift and shift, and they've changed the company's name. We want to know that this is what you want to do and that you want to work with us. So make it personal and make it tailored to that role that you're applying for, would be my main bit of advice.
Right, yeah. So your company research, ensuring that you actually know what it is that you are applying to and talking about. Brilliant, thank you. So I will mark that one off. We've got a general question here. So yeah, a general question here. Do your companies sponsor work visa for international students after graduation? I guess I'll go around the panel for this one, starting with Natasha.
From when I worked within them, we didn't. I don't know whether that's changed since, but I would say no.
Yeah, of course, you obviously want to check the recruitment website yourself as well for this, just to make sure that you're not wasting your time with any applications there. Melanie?
So we do typically have people start with us where the 2 years post-graduation are valid, and then after that, we wouldn't sponsor work visas. But after graduation, immediately for those 2 years, of course, there's the graduate visa that everyone has access to if they studied in the UK.
Right, so you've got that short period then.
Yeah.
Thank you. Leanne?
Not at this moment, no.
No, so that's no. And yeah, thank you. Lisa?
Thank you.
Okay, so it depends on the role, but something that really needs to be taken into account. I mean, so double check the job description in the website, but security clearance is something that we need for a lot of our roles. So for a lot of these, it will be 3 years in the UK with no more than 6 months outside. So as well as if they're on certain visas, if they've been traveling home for a long extended period of time, that may affect it. So it's just something else to take into account.
Brilliant, thank you. And yeah, just repeat obviously what we were saying there then for the audience. Make sure you do check, the website, you read into the details, just so you aren't, sending off your application and you're giving yourself the best chance. Brilliant, so done answering that one. We've got a question aimed at Natasha here. So it says, hi, you mentioned your degrees in business, but you are now in technology consulting. I have a banking, finance and management degree and want to go into technology consulting. How did you go about getting into technology career with little experience? Obviously, you shared a little bit of your background, but yeah, do you just want to help our audience member out here?
Yeah, sure. So to be honest, I actually did online courses that I was interested in. So coding languages I was interested in, the fundamentals of cloud technology, and kind of an all-rounded, I guess, computing courses that I could fathom out a bit more technology knowledge. That was my big go-to. I did multiple courses in that. So yeah, I'd recommend that. And Udemy's great as well. Not that just to plug them.
Are you working for them? No. Brilliant. Yeah. No, of course. I mean, it's where can you find, these places to upskill? What can you do outside of your studies, outside of your job to really, I guess make yourself into a well-rounded candidate. As we've been saying throughout the webinar, you don't have to be this perfect person coming into any job, really. And yeah, it's how can you make yourself a holistic candidate? So yeah, we'll take that one off. We have got one aimed at Melanie here. So we've got, hey Melanie, ThirdBridge seems like a great opportunity, both with the salary and the benefits offered by the company. My application was rejected. I was wondering if you could provide tips in case I reapply in the future. Thank you.
So I would encourage you to speak find someone on LinkedIn who works at ThirdBridge with the role that you are interested in applying for. So let's say that's the entry-level associate role within Connections, and try to have a conversation with them over the phone so that you understand a little bit more about what we do at ThirdBridge, what a day in the life is like, and then hopefully that person can submit your application as a referral candidate. Usually we get a lot of applications on our website, as you mentioned. Yes, the salary is great, the benefits are great. So there are tons of applications that come through, but a way to differentiate is really through those referral interviews that we get, or referral applicants that we get. Those will almost always lead to an introductory call with a member of our talent team. So
brilliant, thank you very much. And so the next on the list here is we've touched on sort of when getting into consulting and sort of how long you can leave it once you graduate. We've got one here. Is it more or less common that people enter consulting later in their career, and is it recommended? Well, I guess this is obviously going to depend on how late we're talking about when we say later. But yeah, is there anyone in the panel who would like to answer this one?
I can go with this one if you like. We get a variety of candidates applying for our roles. So some of them have no experience at all, straight out of uni, like we've mentioned earlier. Some of them have, they're reskilling and they're changing careers, so they might want to benefit from our graduate programs. Sometimes people come through and they don't realise they've already got some of the soft skills and they don't need the benefits of the graduate programme, and we can put them towards other roles within the company. So I wouldn't let it stop you. I would apply for where your passions lie and what you want to be doing. And if we think that you're not right for that role, then we can redirect you.
Brilliant. Yeah, so it's really a very personal experience depending on the individual application. Fantastic, done answering with that one. So the next one we've got is a two-part question, which I think I will just answer quickly, as we have touched on these topics quite a lot. We've got, which masters is the most valued recommended for international relations graduate looking for a job in consultancy? Well, I think from what our panelists have been saying here, you know, it's not so much about the qualification, rather the wider experiences that you bring and how you're demonstrating your skills and how you develop those. And the second part of this question is, are languages valued in consultancy, and if so, which ones? Obviously, Melanie was sharing about, you know, ThirdBridge and how they're looking for language skills. And of course, I think in any sort of role that you go into, consultancy or any field, you know, if you can speak a foreign language and you can communicate with your colleagues in another language, then that of course is going to make you that is going to work in your favor, I should say. So yeah, we will now move on to the next one. So we've got, yeah, this is an interesting one. As an accountant for 4 years, what are the best consultancy roles that I could look for? Will I have to start, you know, as sort of like, you know, an entry-level consultant, given that I've provided financial advice to third parties in my previous roles? I wonder who would be best from the panel to answer this one. It's quite a specific one, I know, with the financial element to it. Is there any advice that anyone would have to share on this, or is it more sort of, you know, tailor your application, ensure that you're sending, you know, one that's tailored to the role and you're sort of using your experience to your advantage?
I would say that. I would say, you know, apply for the role that you feel that you are most suited for. And if we think that you're more suited towards another role, then we can direct you. But if you think a graduate program would suit you, would benefit you, even though you've got experience, then go for that. But if you do think you've got the soft skills, perhaps go for a more experienced or a higher entry role.
Fantastic, thank you. And yeah, we'll try and squeeze in 2 more questions before we bring this to a close. And we've got it's quite a vague one here. We've got, do you require consultants in the energy industry? I don't believe that. So we've got some heads nodding there. Yeah, so I'm going to start the live answer.
Yeah, some of our clients are across the energy industry, and what I would say as well on that is that there is a lot of misinformation from the media, I think, on energy companies at the moment. So really be open to the kind of sustainability projects that you could get involved in with an energy company. They have government directive and motivation to change, but they also have their own personal criteria to change as well. And they are the organisations that are going to be bringing in the sustainability future. So it would be really exciting for somebody from an emerging talent background to be involved in that. I think in terms of their values and morals, to be part of that kind of transformation project is really exciting. So certainly the energy sector is a really big player at the moment for consultancy.
And excuse me, so Leanne, Grace, how have you seen, obviously, you know, we've seen sustainability and, you know, green jobs, if you like, sort of, you know, there's a lot more focus and emphasis on those now. How have you seen opportunities in this area sort of grow in, you know, in recent years?
Yeah, and so we ask people at the first stage of their interview if there's a sector that they wouldn't feel comfortable working in, because we appreciate, like, you know, some people may not want to work for a pharmaceutical company if they are against animal testing, or some people might not want to work for an energy company if they feel really strongly that it doesn't connect to their values. But what you know, just going back to my earlier point, we're really seeing a lot of drive in that sector to work on projects to encourage growth and sustainability and look at alternative sources. And so that drives large scale projects, which is quite an exciting thing for our grads to get involved in.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. And we've got, so next on the list, that one, what have we got here? We've got, I have worked in Energy Market Regulatory Authority in Turkey for over 10 years and now study energy law. And in a very short time, I've become increasingly interested in energy consultancy, particularly in energy transition. How would I find a way and a level in a management consulting firm? And so I guess the essence behind that question is, I'm coming with 10 years of experience, similar to the last question. You know, you're not looking for an entry-level role. Obviously, this is a lot of experience here, 10 years. How, I guess, what you know, how is this candidate going to be received in the application process? You know, are you really going to be going for a graduate role with 10 years of experience, or are you sort of pushed towards going for a more senior level role?
So what I would say is that it's true that if you're a recent grad, you'd be welcome to apply, and certainly would very much be considered by us. We welcome all emerging talent from different backgrounds. People can get to a certain point in their career and decide, you know what, I want to start afresh. And they take a university degree, they reskill, and then they come to us, and that's exciting to watch their journey grow as much as it is for somebody who's not had that industry experience. But what I would say on the flip side is be sure that it's a role that is going to challenge you, because if you spent 10 years working your way into a senior role, to start at entry level might just not challenge you. So really keep that in mind. You know, is this a role that's going to keep you driven and excited? Because if it isn't, then emerging talent might not be the best place for you. If it is, because it's, you know, you really feel like you've got to start from that first step, then your skills and experience would be welcomed.
Well, yeah, obviously you want to keep building on what you have already experienced in your career and moving forward with that expertise and experience. Brilliant, thank you. And so the next question we've got is, how can you display passion on your CV, and can you provide advice on CV for roles? Obviously, we've talked about passion a lot, and we've mentioned how it's your different experiences, it's your commercial awareness. So, you know, ensure that you're giving, you know, you're hinting to this on your CV, and, you know, you're giving your initial application the best chance by including that kind of information. And I think we'll make this the final question here, so that Connor, our moderator behind the scenes, can come in and just have a final word before we sign off. We've got, so we have, what if the candidate is willing to pay for the fees? You are all already in the government skilled worker providing list. So yeah, I think what this question might be touching on is if you are already applying for some sort of visa already. Yeah, I see some nodding heads in the panel there. I'm assuming that makes a little bit more sense to you than me, so I'm going to hand over.
I can speak for ThirdBridge on this one. Even if you're on the skilled worker providing list, there needs to be a threshold of a salary or title or experience to be able to get sponsorship for a visa. So it's not so much about the fees as much as the UK labour laws that we follow.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So yeah, that one's been answered, and that is all that we have time for on this webinar today. So thank you very much to our panelists for joining today and sharing their insights. It's been great to get both perspectives from the practitioner and the recruiter side of things. Thank you to you in the audience for joining us and for all of your questions. And apologies if I didn't make it to your question. There are a considerable amount, but hopefully we have already managed to answer your question with the talking points. Stick around for just a second because Connor, our moderator, has just popped his camera and he's got a word to say about the next coming webinars for Target Jobs. And so, yeah, once again, thank you to our panelists and thank you to the audience.
Yeah, as Alan said, yeah, thank you very much, guys. That was a really, really good listening in for that. I'm just going to put on screen our Target Jobs events page so you can follow along for other events like these and obviously have other opportunities. So you'll see opportunities from various employers like the ones you've seen today. So that is our link to Target Jobs. So you obviously go and look at events and opportunities. Yeah, just so you're all aware, as Alan said, we run webinars regularly on all different subjects. And the next one is going to be about starting your career in law on May 16th. So like I said, go to Target Jobs, go to our events and sign up for that. Yeah, thank you again to our panelists and enjoy the rest of your days. Brilliant. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.